When I was younger, I used to think chess players were wise and respectful people, but the more I learned, the more I understood that chess has an ego problem. And that is especially true for Garry Kasparov. He is a brilliant chess player, but outside the board, he is one of the most disrespectful grandmasters that is willing to do everything for a win, and even cheat. In order to understand why no one likes Kasparov, we first need to understand his beginning and his ego. Kasparov was born on April 13, 1963, and 7 years later he picked up chess. It's normal for children to find chess fun and interesting, but Kasparov was special. He not only had an immense passion for chess, but his understanding of positions was far beyond what a 7-year-old can grasp. Garry Kasparov was a chess prodigy. And as he grew older, his achievements in chess started to accumulate. But in 1985, he managed to become the youngest world champion ever by defeating Karpov. This year, though, wasn't so pleasant for Viswanathan Anand. He was playing against Kasparov, and after 8 draws, Anand managed to win Game 9. Then, Kasparov started to act unprofessional. Anand states that when Garry finished making his move, he would then slam the clock, get out, and slam the door. They played in an artificial cage which further amplified the noise but also shook the cage a bit. The interesting thing is that Kasparov's position was good. He did not need to do this, but he decided to apply pressure to a then 26-year-old Anand, which might as well have been the reason for Kasparov winning 4 of the next 5 games. One might argue that Kasparov was just lashing out and it was nothing serious, but it becomes serious when it happens too often. In 1988, Kasparov was playing against Yasser Seirawan in the Thessaloniki Olympiad, and once again, it became unprofessional. With every move, Kasparov would press hard on the board with his chess piece and then hit the clock very hard. He kept doing this more and more, which honestly every person would find incredibly annoying. Even Yasser, which is known as joyful and a very kind and cheerful person, was getting pushed to the edge. But then Kasparov makes his next move and literally punches the clock so hard all the pieces fell over. And not only on their chessboard, but the chessboards to the left and right. It's funny, but this cheerful Yasser was ready to punch the guy. Kasparov sensed the bloodlust and kept apologizing. In the end, Garry Kasparov won that game. Years passed and Kasparov kept winning, but his ego also kept growing. The only thing, however, that Kasparov despised was losing to young, inexperienced players. I don't know if it was the fear of losing to a young player or the fear of falling off, but Kasparov showed his worst side with people that really would not fight back. It's 1994 and Kasparov is playing against 17-year-old female player Judith Polgár. To give you some context, this was when the chess scene really didn't want women to play chess. I'm sure Polgár faced frequent discrimination, but she still was an amazing player, and for the first time ever, she was getting to play against the world champion. It's move 36, and Kasparov is slightly in a better position, but then he makes a move, knight to c5. He lets go of the knight and quickly realizes that the bishop in c6 can turn the game into a draw. So, he picks up the knight again and moves it to f8. While this whole thing lasted less than a second, it still is considered cheating by the official classical rules. Polgár noticed and was confused, but also hoping an arbiter would see the obvious violation. She later said that she did not know that this was being recorded and that as a 17-year-old she could never confront Kasparov in public. This would not only ruin her reputation, but also a possible blacklist from tournaments. When Kasparov got asked about this, he said, even if the move to c5 was made, it was still a draw. But that is not the point. Kasparov has been playing this game competitively for 30 years now. He knows the rules, and he knows that this is cheating. My theory is that Kasparov's ego got just too big, and drawing the first game against a female prodigy would ruin his reputation in his eyes. But I really hope that is not the case. To make things worse, he said, "She just publicly said I was cheating. I think a girl of her age should be taught some good manners before making such statements," and later described Polgár as a circus puppet and said that women chess players should stick to having children. Everything about this is terrible, but justice came for Polgár because in 2002, when she managed to beat Kasparov, She described the game as one of the most remarkable moments of her career. And in 2020, she had a one-on-one talk for 45 minutes where they showed mutual respect and talked about women in chess, in which Kasparov had changed his mind. Though the 2002 experience did not humble Kasparov, in 2003 he was playing against Radjabov and Kasparov was clearly in a losing position. Instead of resigning, he stormed off the board and lost due to time. Later, Radjabov was awarded the Brilliancy Prize, which made Kasparov very angry. He went onto stage and pretty much trash-talked for 10 minutes and said the award was a public insult and humiliation because Radjabov was completely lost in the game. These are just a few examples, but I promise you there are a whole lot more. But for my sanity, I would rather end the video here.